fair themed wild stuff. There are a lot of great items you can get your hands on. That's online available. I don't know if it's online available. Let's start this again.
You're either on the bus or you're off the bus.
Welcome aboard. Episode 53 of Ridin the Bus, the official Iowa Wild podcast, is on the way. The wheels are rolling. Ben Gislason, voice of the Iowa Wild, here with you. Great to have you on board today. And jumping right in to our interview and to our guest, centerman for the Iowa Wild and Minnesota Wild last season, Ben Jones, is with us here today. Ben, it's great to catch up with you and a lot to talk about in your first time on the bus. So welcome aboard.
Yeah, thank you. I'm looking forward to it, and thanks for having me on.
As always, a bus story, a travel story. You've had, I'd imagine, countless of them in your career. Anybody who's been in pro hockey, specifically minor league pro hockey for a while, understands it. What comes to mind when I say get us going with a great bus story?
Yeah, I guess the first one that comes to mind, my first two teams I was with were both pretty much fly everywhere team. So I was in Chicago, which I guess that was my rookie year, but COVID got in the way of that one. But then when I was with Calgary, we flew everywhere. We definitely had a couple delays and a couple nightmare travel, but the one specific one was something to do with our flight got delayed or canceled. We weren't going to make our original flight, so we ended up having to kind of panic button and get on a few different flights. And somehow myself and I think there was 6 other guys, and 3 or 4 of them were the most senior on the team. Somehow we ended up missing the first flight that was going. So we had, I think it was 8 or 9 hours at the airport in LAX that we had to kill without being able to leave the airport because we had checked our bags and already checked in and everything. So we had to try and find somewhere to hunker down and spend a few hours and make our way back to. Then we had a game the next day, so we didn't end up getting back until midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, I think at the earliest, and we turned around and had a game the next day. So that was a fun story to share at morning skate when we found out that there were 2 or 3 rookies that were flying in business class on the way back, and we were waiting until the 9-hour flight later. So that's a funny one that comes to mind.
You had to tell a plane connection story. Those are the ones that give me the willies the most as the person in charge of travel for this team. Thank God we did not have to do that last year.
Yeah.
I have had to do that before, and I can tell you that you're exactly right. When some of the older guys, if they don't get prioritized on one of those flights and rookies wind up going ahead of time, I'd imagine your travel coordinator might have taken a bit of bruising for that too. I know I would have if I was the one in charge of getting the older guys out and leaving them there for a 9-hour stint at the airport.
Yeah, it definitely was, all fun and games. Of course, we obviously understand how, we definitely don't want to be the ones planning it for many reasons. So it's, obviously it's just part of the gig, but it was a pretty funny 24 hours.
Yeah, and I take it's just a part of the job, and it comes with almost a badge of courage. When I always say if the guys are giving you a hard time, it means that they like you, because if they're not giving you a hard time, it probably means they're talking behind your back about how poor of a job you're doing. So.
That's a fair point. Yeah, you're better off hearing it straight to your face, and that's kind of just the locker room mentality is. You can't get away with much in that room. Exactly.
Well, we're off and rolling. The wheels are rolling. Before we get to hockey, Ben, personality-wise, we really want people to feel like they're just sitting next to you on the bus, swapping stories, getting to know who Ben Jones is. Well, I've got plenty of hockey questions to get to, too. But for starters, what's on in Ben Jones's car on any given day if you're driving around or if you got some time to kill it? Music, podcasts, how do you bide your time if you're just maybe killing some time?
Definitely music. Listen to a ton of music, probably to the point where people I'm hanging around all the time hear the same songs all the time. But I spend a lot of time making phone calls while I'm driving and whatnot, especially if I'm driving and got time to kill. I usually try and use that time to catch up with buddies that I haven't chatted with in a while, or family, friends, or family and whatnot. But music's probably the main one that you'll hear if you're around me.
Any podcasts or books or anything like that? Or are you pretty much music all the time?
I'll definitely read books. Yeah, I try and read as much as I can, really. I mean, obviously we spend a lot of time on the bus and on the plane and whatnot, so there's a lot of free time for that. So reading books is kind of a good way to kill time as well. But even when I'm just hanging out at home and cleaning and whatnot and cooking and everything, it's always music going on. There's not a whole lot of quiet time in my life.
Any great recommendations for anybody that you've read recently?
I'm just started the Phil Mickelson book. I'm a big golfer, so read a ton of books about golf and whatnot. So I started that one not that long ago, and it's kind of an interesting one of shared stories and experiences of when he was kind of coming up through the ranks, and so that's a good one.
If you weren't playing hockey, and I'm maybe leading the witness a little bit here because I know you're going to talk about golf. If you weren't playing hockey, what do you think it is you might be doing or pursuing as a career?
Yeah, I mean, if it was another sport, which it more than likely would be, it would more than likely be golf. Growing up, I actually played a lot of soccer, so I, played as high level as I could until I kind of had to make the decision, and the decision was hockey. For a while there, it looked like it was going to be the opposite, and we had talked with our family about maybe moving back. My parents are both British, so we talked about maybe moving back there to test the world of football, as they call it, but that obviously did not happen, and here I am sitting in front of you. So,
did your parents come over with you, or did they come over to Canada before you were born?
my mom was pregnant with me when they came over. So my sister was born there, and then they both got jobs at the University of Waterloo here, locally. And then, they were pregnant with me when they moved over, and I was born shortly after.
Thus the love of soccer that I'm sure they poured into you. Is there a team across the pond that your family supports more than others?
My dad's a diehard Leeds United supporter, so has been for a long time. And then growing up, my dad and I were both Man U supporters. So those are kind of the two teams.
Does your mom have any allegiances, or is it a pretty unified house?
No, pretty unified. Yeah, she would sit and watch, but it's not like she's not as diehard as my dad is. So
I want to say I watched like a Leeds United documentary sometime along the road, and it was really good and really interesting because they're a team that, if you're just a casual soccer football fan, you don't really know about Leeds United, but they have a pretty great history in English soccer, don't they?
yeah, my dad would be the one to be able to ask more questions about that.
Yeah,
but
I'm sure.
I'm kind of just bred into it.
So the soccer hockey decision for you, as far as you can remember, when did that decision come to be? How did that decision come to be? And what were you weighing between maybe pursuing going back to England, or for you going to England for the first time, and then staying and obviously taking the route that you did take through Major Junior?
Yeah, it kind of just seemed like it was, there was a lot of logistics and a lot of things that needed to go right for soccer to be possible. Obviously, of course, for hockey as well. But that was a bit of just, what Canadian kids did, and kind of the decision that was made was to go that route. And like I said, here we are. So I guess we can say we're happy with that one.
I would imagine so. Idols growing up, people you looked up to that you in the game, in the sport of hockey, where you said, this is, if I could be even a thimble of this player, I'd be really happy.
Yeah, I think for me growing up, I mean, I just from about an hour outside of Toronto, so was a pretty good Leaf fan growing up, and they were kind of the idols. Definitely Matt Sundin was the one that comes to mind of someone that, from what I can remember when I was really young and just getting into the game, was like, wow, this guy is God. So he'd be the one I'd pick for sure.
For you personally, coming off your most successful pro season of your career, and the one thing, the more you get into pro hockey, you realize is it's the furthest thing from a linear path, right? I mean, the amount of setbacks guys have, and some of the odd timing that sometimes it takes to get to a point where you're at, where you really got a great sample size last season, north of 20 games in the National Hockey League. When you think about your career and you think about getting to that point of playing those 26 NHL games with Minnesota, what had to happen? How'd you have to get there? And I know it's a long answer probably, but what are some of the things that had to happen to get you to that point? Because there's so much that has to happen, right? A lot of it out of your control to make that big jump like you made, because prior to that, it was just 2 games in the NHL.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the answer can be very long-winded, and I could go down for probably half an hour, trying to go through each and every little step. But I think a lot of it was just, kind of finding the belief in what I think I do well, and the belief in myself, and kind of just knowing that, at some point, and believing at some point that someone's going to want me for what I do well. And getting a fresh start in mini this year was awesome. Going into camp with kind of just a clean slate and getting the chance to just, kind of show who I am and be the person that I am and the player I am without anyone really knowing who I was kind of just a nice, fresh start that you get a couple of good bounces and all of a sudden, your name's floating around in a good way. And it's like I said, it was just belief in yourself that, I have the ability to play in the National Hockey League and still think I do. And of course, there's so many things out of your control. Guys get hurt and there's opportunities and, the cap, guys are at the limit. Some guys can't get called up because of that. The roster number, some guys can't get called up because of that. So there's 105 different things that need to go right. And luckily I was that, 105th thing that went right this year for me. And, got to spend, more time than I went into the year expecting to and looking forward to getting the chance to do that again this year.
Indeed. Were there any things with that sustained stretch that surprised you about that level that maybe, and you'd had just a taste of it with Vegas, but when you got there and you were staying there for a little while that you went, I did not know this was a part of the NHL experience. It could be off ice. It could be on ice. Just when I say that, surprises, are there any that you can think of?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll start with on ice. I think the jump is a lot, but it's like it's a different kind of jump than I think I expected. It's a lot cleaner of a game up there, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. People are in the right place at all times. It's such a detail-oriented game that you can kind of play with your eyes closed and you know that there's someone going to be in the spot that they're supposed to be and the puck is going to come to you when it's supposed to. So I guess from the game standpoint, it wasn't as, I guess, difficult as a jump. Of course, it's a, extremely different level and you're playing against the world's best players every night. So it's an extremely different jump in that regard. But in terms of the actual game, it didn't feel as much of like, whoa, I'm way far behind and this is, way above my level. Then I guess off ice, it's just the amount of games you play. There's so many games you basically expect to play every other night. In and out of cities, you get to experience some really cool cities and some really awesome hotels and restaurants and whatnot that come with, playing in those awesome cities. But yeah, I guess, like I said, it's just something you need to get used to off the ice, but on the ice, it was kind of surprising in a good way that it wasn't as much of, whoa, this is way above my level that I need to figure it out quick.
The thing that always blows me away, especially if I ever get the chance to watch a game in person, which is rare, obviously, with the American League schedules and NHL schedules clashing every so often. If we're in a road city, say Winnipeg, where you can get to a game, maybe we play the night before or the next day, etc. But when I get to watch in person, it doesn't seem like there's any such thing as a pass that doesn't get caught in that league, right? I mean, the circumference around each player and their ability to pull pucks out of nowhere just blows me away. Out of skates, reaching behind you. The only time a pass is ever bad is if it gets picked off, it feels like. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it's just, I mean, they're the best players in the world for a reason. They make the most amount of money in our sport for a reason. And, they're very good at moving the puck and very good at picking the puck up. It's kind of the classic saying, if you can't give a good player a bad pass, whereas most of the time I feel like I'm saying you can give a good player a bad pass. And so, no, it's I mean they're obviously at a completely different level. That's why there's that's why there's two different leagues with significant amount of money in the difference in the two different leagues.
When you came out of junior, a ton of scoring, and you're not the first player to do this where you've come out of junior and you've scored there and then you've had to learn to adapt. Some guys don't and therefore don't play NHL games. Obviously, you're an example of someone who has adapted. What was that like? And was there a point where, did somebody tell you? Did you just figure it out on your own where you went, yeah, I can still score at times, but I'm not going to be the scoring guy? Walk me through that transition, because adapting is something that I've been told, guys in your situation, that if you're going to get there, you got to figure out what it is that's going to get you there. And for 99.9% of the population, it's not scoring.
Yeah. I mean, I was fortunate enough. I had some good coaches in minor hockey, and Connor Brown's dad was my coach in minor hockey going into my draft year. So he was, obviously had a very strong hockey mind on his head. And I think I've kind of always been someone that's been able to soak up information and kind of adapt as needed, but it was definitely a challenge. I mean, coming in a junior, had my most successful year of scoring going into my first year pro, and kind of thought it was going to come into the American League as most do and think it's going to be a walk in the park. And all of a sudden you play the first game and get, a very quick taste of this is not easy hockey anymore. You're obviously playing in a different role. You're coming in as no longer the, first line, first power play guy. You're trying to just stay in the lineup most of the time as a rookie in your first year. And I think that definitely helped me. It was a big wake up call of, you need to be able to be adaptable. And I always joke with guys, you got to be a chameleon. You got to be able to fit in and fit in wherever you can, and just be super adaptable to whatever I mean, it even changes night to night with, especially in the American League, you get guys called up, guys sent down, your role can change completely when you have a game at 7 and the next game you have at 2 in the afternoon, and all of a sudden your lineup's flipped upside down and there's 2 guys gone or 2 guys sent down, and everything looks different. So, I mean, there's still a ton of changing that, happens all the time. You need to be adaptable, but yeah, I mean, it was hard early for sure coming out of junior, like I said, and kind of thinking you're, hot stuff and it's going to be easy, and it hits you pretty quick that it's not that easy, and kind of the only way to survive is to adapt.
Is there a welcome to pro hockey moment that stands out most in the career of Ben Jones?
Yeah, I mean, my first pro game was pretty eventful.
I like the sound
came
of
out of
this.
junior, like I said. I was yeah, came out of junior, like I said. I had a a big scoring year. Went into camp thinking I was just gonna walk through the team. Got a pretty quick wake up call from Rocky Thompson was my coach at the time, and he pulled me aside and was like, "Hey, this is not going very well for you. It's time to you got to figure it out. Otherwise, there's not really going to be a spot on this team for you." Which was kind of the first time you're like, "Oh boy, what am I getting myself into?" Played my first game. We were in Chicago playing against GR. Kind of was, again, trying to figure out how to stay in the lineup, trying to figure out how to get in the good books and kind of be someone that they can rely on. I ended up fighting that night. I had one fight in junior, fought that night against Giovanni Smith. Ended up having an assist that night. And then like halfway through the second period, I got blown up by Dylan McElrath, and the lights went out, and that was that was a few weeks off of some time to work on the old coconut up top. So that was an eventful welcome to pro hockey first game for sure.
Well, 2 tough names that you're bringing up too, and Giovanni Smith and Dylan McElrath. Those 2 know their way around a fight and a body check. That's for sure.
Yeah.
From a perspective of the people that are around you, you brought up your coach in Connor Brown's father, anybody who gets to where you're at, and it's not always the same person. It's not always mom. It's not always dad. Sometimes it's grandpa. Sometimes it's not even a blood relative. Who is the Army? Who are the people that really surrounded you and sacrificed? And I always like to ask this question because I think each player has at least one of these stories where there is an example of the sacrifice that it took to allow you to get to where you want to get to. The fact that your parents were entertaining flying you back to England to play soccer showcases just how bought in they were to the success of your career. But who are those people, and are there any specific examples you can give of people that sacrificed a lot along the way to get you to where you're at now?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm very fortunate that I have, kind of a lot of, people in my corner, a lot of people in my Army, like you just said. My parents have obviously done, anyone to get to the point that I'm at now has, there's no way they can say that their parents and their Army didn't help kind of do everything to get them there. And without them, that wouldn't be possible. So them and, my family, my sister included, and, everyone kind of sacrificed so much. It's hard to really pick one example of the, insane amount of driving and, stuff that they had to miss just to be able to get me to tournaments when I was younger. And, they used to drive down to Niagara, which was, a 2-hour drive. They used to drive down for pretty much every home game in junior. Sometimes stay over just so they could stay and watch the next game with no expectation of really even seeing me. So, they all have done so much to be able to help me get to this point. Even they continue to with, home in the summers, especially when I was, coming up through my first few years pro. I didn't really know what way was up in terms of eating and, trying to make that transition. So, definitely can't say enough about how lucky I am to have them all in my corner, and the help that they've given me is completely, something I can never really say thank you enough times for.
I want to go from a heartwarming answer to more of a comical answer. Most embarrassing hockey moment. Every player has them, whether they're willing to accept them or admit them. And I'm going to put you on the spot. Going out with skate guards on before practice, anything that comes to mind where you went, "Sheesh, I can't believe this happened to Ben Jones"?
I guess the first one that comes to mind is I was actually just telling this to someone over the weekend, but when I was drafted to Vegas, Gary Roberts was working with Vegas at the time, so there was a huge group of us, kind of locally. He trains about an hour and a half, 2 hours away. So there was a group of us, probably 6 or 7 Vegas prospects that went and trained there and stayed at, he used to do it at St. Andrews College. So we would stay at the dorms and we had our own little Vegas group at the time. There was some great talent. I mean, it was the 2 first rounders, guys, some pretty high level name guys that were part of that group. And we used to be part of, all of us were still in junior, but his group that he had there of pros is quite impressive. If you look down the list, there's probably quite a few Hall of Famers that will be coming out of there. So we used to kind of not be included in their skates. We got on to skate a couple of times with them, and the one time we were out there in McDavid, we were doing a simple warm-up drill, and it was, skate down the ice, swing around the corner, get a pass from the other guy, he goes down and shoots. And he came around the corner picking up speed, and I was 18 at the time, just drafted, and I missed him by a pass as I saw him picking up speed by probably 15 feet. Because I'd never seen anyone pick up speed that fast, and just knew exactly what was about to happen. Missed it by about 20 feet, like I said. Turned around to grab another puck, fired one to try and catch up to him, missed him by another 20 feet. And it was just like, whoa, I am so far out of my league right now. Like, what is going on? That guy's really fast. And I can remember thinking about how embarrassing it was, being like, oh, they let these, let these junior kids come out with us for the day. It's bit of a make-a-wish, but that didn't go very well for me. So that's probably the one that I remember specifically thinking it was very embarrassing to be me.
Last time we allow them to come out with us. David goes and tells Roberts after that, maybe don't do that again.
Yeah. These guys, probably not it.
Oh, man, that's a terrific story. And I can only imagine the trepidation you had to have as you were loading up to make this pass. You're like, where do I lead this guy?
Yeah.
Like, either you're going to put it way too far ahead of him or obviously way too far behind him. That is a great tale. Face-offs, Ben, our last interview with Brad Merrick, he was heralding your face-off abilities, which it doesn't take a hockey scientist watching you play to realize you are great on the dot. You win face-offs in inventive ways. I certainly enjoy watching you win a face-off. I asked Brad Merrick this question. I'll ask you this question. As you're stepping into the dot, what are you looking at? Give me the Reader's Digest version of how are you assessing the draw, and what are you thinking in your head as you step in? What are you looking for as you get ready to try to win a face-off?
Yeah, I guess I'll have to start by saying thanks to Mayor for pumping my tires. He's awesome. Obviously, it was great for him to, see him get that NHL deal. It was really great. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of its own game within a game. There's no real way to, I guess, dissect it all. There's so many things happening. You kind of got to figure out what you're good at, what you're strong at, and then you got to try and, it's a bit of a, like I said, game within a game. You're trying to guess what the other guy is going to do. You try and watch some film to kind of get good ideas on what he's doing. Even with the linesman, you can kind of, get a good idea on if they, drop the puck over one side of the dot versus the other, and kind of the newer guys are a little more scared to get in there. So if it's a younger guy, they kind of hang back and kind of just throw it down while they're trying not to get, there's sticks flying everywhere. So I don't really blame them for that. So like I said, it's a game within a game. I could spend an hour trying to dissect, every moment going into it. But I mean, it's obviously puck possession is such an important part of the game. So anything I can do to try and, have more of the puck and help our team have more of the puck is what I'm going to do. And it's kind of something you don't necessarily really practice that much in the off season. You're kind of, doing 157 other things. So, it's kind of, you just figure it out as it goes on. And as the year goes on, there's good nights and bad nights. So just try and stay as consistent and reliable as you can, I guess.
Well, Brad told us that he has a few new options in his bag of tricks that he's planning on bringing to camp this fall. So I'll let you be the judge of those.
Oh boy. Now I'm intrigued. Now I'm going to have to wait and keep an eye on him and see what's going on.
Are there any centermen, because the game inside the game is well said with on the dot, going mano a mano against another centerman in your career, and obviously especially in the American League, you play a lot of the same teams over and over again. You get a lot of the same matchups over and over again. Is there one guy that was just a nightmare to handle in the dot for you?
Not specifically, no. I mean, there's guys every night, like you said, you have, hot nights and cold nights,
Mm-hmm.
and some nights you're missing the puck by a mile, and sometimes it feels like even when you miss it, you hit it somehow. So, there's obviously some very good centermen in pro hockey and in the American League. Like you said, you play the same team so many times, but with that in mind, you also can kind of figure that out with certain guys. A lot of guys don't change much. So you kind of know guys' tendencies. You can watch some film, and if you play Rockford three times in 2 weeks, you can kind of get a good idea on what their 4 or 5 centermen do, and kind of figure it out from there.
I think we have a similar stretch to that, maybe even more games against Rockford in a very short span in our schedule this year, so we can look forward to that.
Yeah, there you go. It seems like we have a lot of home and homes too, so we might have a lot more time for some bus talks.
There you go. Indeed. Getting to the end here, I want to get to the golf course, because ask anybody on last year's Iowa Wild roster, and they'll tell you that Ben Jones is at the top of the totem pole as far as golfers go on the team. How's the game been this summer? I want to know, if you're willing, I want to know best score, and I also want to know worst score, because I think worst score says a lot about a golfer. I've got some friends that they can shoot in the low 70s, but they can also shoot in the low 90s if they erupt. So where are you at? And are you willing to divulge your scores from this summer?
Yeah, I'll be honest about it. There's no point in hiding it. I mean, you can look it up on the Golf Canada app, and you can figure it out for yourself. So you can call me out for lying. But no, the games are pretty good. Gotten to play some really cool courses this year. Got on some trips that we got to play some awesome spots. So that was fun. Got to play the Torrey Pines South course, which was a dream. That was super cool. Tipped it out, so it was a beast that day. But yeah, that was great. Game's been okay, kind of. I mean, everyone's going to say the same thing: good some days and bad the others. Some days it feels like you should be trying to play the other hand, and some days it feels like you can't miss. So, best score, best score this year, I believe, is a 72. That'd be. I think that's the low of the summer this year so far. Then worst score. I mean, I'd be lying probably if I said it wasn't in the kind of mid 80s. Realistically, I don't think I've had a 9 on the finished scorecard yet. I don't think so, but like I said, you can go check and then you can figure it out for yourself. But yeah, no, Torrey Pines is definitely one to remember. It was fortunate to get the chance to play out there, and then played pretty well that day. So I was excited about it.
Always a big part whenever you get to play a great course is you don't want to piss that away, right? You want to try and at least hit some good shots, because you don't want to be just mad the whole day on a great course. So I'm glad to hear that was not the case for you at Torrey Pines.
Yeah, it was it was a super cool course. I mean, you always hear people talk about the ocean effect and whatnot, and it took me about 17 of the 18 holes to believe them that the ocean effect really does happen. So had a few putts that left me, 6 feet coming back to it that I had no idea which way it went, and me scratching my head thinking, well, it's on a slope that goes left, but the ocean's on the right, and somehow it broke 5 feet right. So, I'm no math magician, but I don't really know how that worked out. But no, like I said, it was a super cool course, and it was in great condition when we played it. So that was awesome.
It's the darndest thing, isn't it? I've never played an ocean course, but I played a course up near Lake Superior, right off the coast of Lake Superior, and same idea up there. And I'm with you. It was somewhere in the back nine where I actually started to take it into account, and far too late for my score that day. But yeah, the ocean effect and the big body of water effect is very real. Golf-wise, for you, not just a pastime, but also something that you do. Now, 4th annual, you had the Ben Jones charity golf tournament this summer. Tell us more about that. Any names people would know that come to it? Where does it benefit? Can people get involved? Can people donate? We'd love to know more about that, because I know it was something that you hold very near and dear to your heart.
Yeah, it's something that, kind of has been a dream, and kind of a dream come true so far, honestly. I mean, it was 4 years ago that I launched my foundation, that, kind of just wanted to do good things for people that were trying to get into sport, kind of didn't know the exact direction they wanted to go. All of a sudden, like it was in the middle of March, I was like, you know what, let's just do a golf tournament. How hard could it be? I figured that out pretty quickly that it's not the easiest thing to plan. So ended up getting, I think, 120 people that first year. We raised 10 grand. That was, blew my expectations way out of the water. And then kind of every year it's just, picked up steam, kept going. We had 120 players this year. We raised 25,000 for, so we every year we donate to Kids Sport Kitchener-Waterloo. So Kids Sport Canada is an organization that donates, has grants for families that need the money for kids to get involved in sports or dance programs, and just helps them along with equipment and team fees and whatnot that they need. So they have a chapter here locally in Kitchener-Waterloo where I'm from. So we've partnered with them, and they're really, really excited about our partnership moving forward. And we've donated all our money over the last 4 years to them. So we're up at 70,000 that we've donated over the 4 years, which is awesome. So I think this year going in, we had helped around 150 kids and families. And with this year's donation, it'll push it up to almost 250 families and kids that we've helped, which is, just something that I never really expected. And without everyone's support, it wouldn't never have been possible. So I'm super grateful for that. We do a charity golf tournament every year. And it's just, it's a lot of fun raising money for, really good cause and something I really believe in. So there's a ton of ways to get involved. There's donations. There's, you can come and play if anyone's feeling like making the hike to, an hour west of Toronto. But, it's something that I'm, really passionate about. I love doing it every year. We have a ton of hockey guys that show up. We have a ton of auction items that we do, an online auction for that people can get involved. I think this year, the ticket item, we ended up, Brendan Gauntz got he trains and skates and is friends with McDavid, so got him to sign a stick that he used in the playoffs. So that went for some big money. I think it went for over $3,500, which went straight to the donation to Kids Sport KW, which is awesome. So we had Matthew Sopp came and played, Ryan O'Rourke came and played. So some Iowa Wild names there, and a ton of other pro guys that we were fortunate to get the support of. And then we're going to do it again next year. So we're already kind of in the works of planning it, and it's a super fun day. And we the night before was a torrential downpour. So I had
of course it was
definitely the nerves going. Everyone always asks me how the weather's looking. And I will never look and never have looked. The night before, it looked like the skies were about to collapse on us. Rained a little bit in the morning, but ended up getting sunny and beautiful in the afternoon. So we lucked out for that as well.
Glad God smiled on you for that day, and what a tremendous cause, Ben. That's thanks for sharing that. And if anybody wants to donate, to get involved, is there a website that they could go to of any kind to learn more about this?
Yeah, so everything's just on my website. It's just benjonesfoundation.com. You can kind of read all about what we've done over the last little bit. You can kind of, get some more information on the foundation and how it got started and whatnot, and everything in between. So everything's just on there. And then a lot of the stuff's done on Instagram and Facebook and whatnot. So the Instagram's just Ben Jones Foundation, and you can kind of find everything there.
There you go. Well, it definitely seems like a noble cause, worth supporting, and a great way to button this episode. Ben, anything I missed that you think our fans need to know going into the 25-26 season?
I don't think so. I think we got it pretty much covered. I'm sure a lot of people are probably sick of hearing my voice, so I'm sure they're going to look forward to signing off.
No, Ben, they're sick of hearing this Ben's voice. That's for sure. Plenty of that throughout the course of the offseason and season. Ben, can't thank you enough. Congratulations on another successful golf tournament. Enjoy the rest of what is a fleeting summer, and we'll see you up in St. Paul.
Awesome. Sounds good. Looking forward to it. Thanks, Benny.
A giant thanks to Ben Jones for a great chat there, covering a lot of ground, all the way from hockey idols to his foundation. Loved the way that finished. Definitely check out the website and check out how you can get involved, how you can donate. Something that is one of my favorite parts of being around pro hockey. He's not the only player with a foundation or a charity golf tournament, but there's so much of that, specifically in hockey, throughout sports, but in hockey especially. And anytime you get a chance to know a guy and to know what they're doing to give back, always gives me a good feeling inside. So great to see Ben giving back. And again, I recommend checking out the golf tournament, checking out the foundation and all that he's doing to help kids sport up there in Kitchener, Waterloo. With that, a couple closing notes that we want to wrap on here today before we close out the episode. As this episode comes out, the Iowa State Fair has already began. The Iowa Wild will be back in the Varied Industries building. Check out our website. We'll have a map as to how you can find us. But I'm sure, as many of you, as I know I like to do when I go for my day at the fair, just wandering around the Varied Industries building, you'll stumble upon the Iowa Wild booth. Make sure to check it out because there are ticket sales at that booth that are basically only available at the fair during the window from now until August 17th when the fair closes. It's the best deal you're going to find, period. So take advantage of those ticket specials. Also take advantage of the merchandise. There is special State Fair merchandise. Some of the stuff that has been done over the years is outstanding. This year's line of fair-themed wild gear is no different. Lots of great merchandise options there at the fair. I'll plan on being out there a couple of days, I think. We've got a few options on the table. We could not get Joey Goldstein back to defend his cow chip title, so there will be a new champion at the cow chip throwing contest. My plan is to get a very robust training regiment going to get ready to try to defend Joey's title, and he has shipped the trophy back. I did confirm that with him recently because I thought, boy, if he somehow submarines the whole cow chip tournament because he doesn't return the trophy that they gave him last year. We had him on the podcast in his final episode to have them hand the trophy over. Hopefully he gets that back. He did, so we have no black eyes for the Iowa Wild organization nor the Ridin the Bus podcast. Thank you, Joey. But unfortunately not coming back to defend his title. So it's an open tournament, and I'll try to not get disqualified this time because if those of you, some OG listeners who tuned in last summer, remember we showed up, we were all ready to go. I had the arm lubed up and ready to rock, and the contest was canceled due to inclement weather. So there'll be plenty of people that are chomping at the bit to defend to take the title, which is now up for grabs with Goldstein out of the running. So we'll have some other content coming your way from the fair the next couple of weeks as well. Not planning on doing a Faircast style episode, but we will have some content coming out on Iowa Wild social media channels. So stay tuned for that. Not a lot of other news right now. We've talked about the roster, what we could see in Iowa next season. Maybe Ben Jones is a part of that. Maybe he's not. Obviously, someone Minnesota knows and likes to play a depth role for the big club, so perhaps he could slot in there. Only time will tell. I do want to touch on the digital magazine. That was, I know, a real labor of love for our manager of media relations, Alec Lesner, and specifically an article in there about Greg Cronin. If you're looking to learn more about Greg, his career, how he got to where he is now, and really just some good lifestyle personality stuff on Greg, Alec knocked this out of the park. It's a terrific article in that digital magazine. You can find that on our website, or it's actually the Cronin article itself is parsed out and put onto the front page of the Iowa Wild website. So if you haven't checked that out yet, I highly recommend it. It was fabulously done, really insightful, lots of knowledge about Greg, his path, but also I loved the bit about surfing too. Bet you that's something you maybe didn't think Greg Cronin loves to do. It's surf, and a great bit on how he got into that. So great job to Alec and to Travis Green as well, our creative graphic designer. They did a great job putting that together for our digital magazine ad that just rolled out. I believe it was last week. So head to iowawild.com to check that out. We are closing in on the season, that's for sure, with August now looking forward and July in the rearview mirror. This is the time of year where it starts to feel real, and it starts to feel like the season isn't just some distant off in the horizon thing that's going to pop up down the line. It's on the way, which is exciting. Lots to be excited about for the Iowa Wild this season. And again, we'll have more episodes coming the rest of summer, have some good guests lined up. If there's anybody that you want to hear from specifically, please do tweet at me. That's at Voice of Benny G, or you can just tweet at the Wild social media as well. I don't have Instagram. I don't have TikTok. So if you're going to try to reach me, you have to go on X or Twitter or whatever you're calling it these days. But thanks for tuning in. A big thanks to Abby Kimball as well on the video side for editing this and producing it for us, and to Ben Jones for a great chat, and looking forward to seeing Ben back in a Wild uniform, either in Minnesota or here in Iowa this season. Thanks to all of you for jumping aboard. This has been episode 53 of Ridin the Bus, the official Iowa Wild podcast. Until the wheels roll again later on, 2 honks for the win.